Have you ever seen a press briefing so explosive that it left everyone's jaw on the floor? That's exactly what happened when a CNN reporter named Caitlyn tried to trap Karoline, a conservative spokesperson who wasn't about to roll over. What started as a routine Q&A session turned into a jaw-dropping clash that went viral within hours. Onlookers described it as a complete role reversal. CNN usually sets the narrative, but this time, the network found itself on the defensive in a very public way. So how did a reporter with prepared questions get blindsided by Karoline's lightning-fast rebuttals? And why did this single exchange spark a massive online debate over the media's credibility? You're in for the full, unfiltered breakdown of a moment that's got both sides talking. Let's dive in.
On the freeze in federal funding, who advised the president on the legality of telling government agencies that they don't have to spend money that was already appropriated by Congress?
Well, as the OMB memo states, this is certainly within the confines of the law. So White House counsel's office believes that this is within the president's power to do it, and therefore he's doing it.
Okay, so they disagree with lawmakers who say that they don't have the power to freeze this funding.
Again, I would point you to the language in the memo that clearly states this is within the law.
And all that happened on Friday night. The administration fired several inspectors general without giving Congress the 30-day legally required notification that they were being fired. I think only 2 were left at DHS and the DOJ. And then yesterday we saw several prosecutors, I believe 12, fired from the Justice Department who worked on the investigations into the president. As you know, they are career prosecutors, therefore they are afforded civil service protections. How is the administration deciding which laws to follow and which ones to ignore?
So it is the belief of this White House and the White House counsel's office that the president was within his executive authority to do that. He is the executive of the executive branch, and therefore he has the power to fire anyone within the executive branch that he wishes to. There's also a case that went before the Supreme Court in 2020, Scala Law LLC versus the Customs, Bureau Protection. I would advise you to look at that case, and that's the legality that this White House is resting on.
You're confident that if they bring lawsuits against you, those prosecutors who were fired, that they will succeed?
We will win in court,
and
yes.
Did he personally direct this, given they worked on the classified documents investigation and the election interference investigation?
This was a memo that went out by the Presidential Personnel Office, and the president is the leader of this White House, so yes. Yes,
Karoline.
A tense political climate had been building for months. Talk of executive overreach, rumored firings of high-level officials, and controversies over freezing funds that Congress had already approved. Journalists across the country smelled a scandal, and CNN was at the forefront, running stories that suggested the White House was skirting constitutional boundaries. Enter Karoline, a relatively new face but already making waves for her no-nonsense defense of the administration. Meanwhile, Caitlyn from CNN was eager to capitalize on the string of controversies. The stage was set for a showdown. No one realized, though, just how quickly things would escalate once microphones turned on and cameras started rolling. The briefing began like any other. Reporters fired off inquiries on everything from spending freezes to rumored mass firings. Then, Caitlyn Collins grabbed the spotlight with what she clearly believed was a gotcha question. Who advised the president on the legality of telling government agencies they don't need to spend funds Congress approved? Her tone was calm but pointed, hinting that she expected Karoline to stumble over legal technicalities. A hush fell over the room. This was exactly the kind of exchange that could generate tomorrow's headlines. The anticipation was high. Would Karoline fumble, or was she hiding some bombshell reveal? Without missing a beat, Karoline launched into a concise but detail-packed explanation. She cited memos from the Office of Management and Budget, noting that the executive branch can exert control over allocated but unspent funds. Then came her trump card, a Supreme Court case that granted certain powers to the executive in specific circumstances. She outlined each point so matter-of-factly that several reporters looked up in surprise. Almost immediately, the power dynamic shifted. Caitlyn's facial expression went from confident to puzzled, as though she hadn't expected Karoline to know the granular legal background. Karoline continued, reinforcing that the administration believed it could hold off on spending without trampling the Constitution. The tension in the room skyrocketed, and it was clear this wasn't the naive spokesperson Caitlyn had pegged her for. But that was only the beginning. In less than a minute, Karoline had all eyes on her, and she wasn't done firing back. Sensing an opening, Karoline decided to go on the offensive. She highlighted what she saw as a glaring double standard in news coverage. She pointed out that previous administrations had occasionally delayed or redirected funds with little controversy, yet CNN seemed fixated on making the situation look unprecedented. The atmosphere turned electric. You could almost hear the silent question echoing in the press room. Is she really calling out CNN right to Caitlyn's face? Caitlyn tried to pivot, raising allegations about the administration firing inspectors general without the standard 30-day notice. Again, Karoline had receipts. She referenced the presidential authority to remove certain individuals, even citing more legal precedents. She ended with a remark that seemed almost too perfect. We're not afraid to defend these actions in court. The message was crystal clear. This wasn't a spokesperson bluffing her way through tough questions. This was someone who'd done her homework. Then came another curveball: rising egg prices. Critics had blamed the administration for failing to manage a mass culling of chickens, which in turn led to higher costs at the grocery store. Caitlyn seized on that angle, implying that White House mismanagement was harming everyday Americans. Once again, Karoline shot back with a breakdown of the Department of Agriculture's role, how officials tackled the outbreak, and why it inevitably caused an egg shortage. It wasn't just a neat or politically correct response. She provided specific numbers and historical context, catching many in the press off guard. In a flash, the conversation zoomed out to broader issues like inflation, economic pressures, and the blame game swirling around the White House. But Karoline's composure didn't falter. She kept the pace swift, hitting each point without lapsing into long-winded explanations. It was a display of communication skill rarely seen in these press briefings, and it left viewers riveted. By this point, reporters were scrambling to keep up. But outside the briefing room, a very different firestorm was about to ignite. As soon as the press briefing concluded, clips of the showdown flooded social media. Users on Twitter dissected every phrase, while YouTube channels posted breaking reaction videos. Hashtags like #CarolineClapsBack and #CNNFail soared to the top of trending lists. Even people who normally tune out political debates found themselves watching clip after clip, intrigued by the spectacle of a well-prepared spokesperson reversing the usual narrative. No amount of damage control could stop the momentum. CNN tried spinning the incident in their subsequent coverage, suggesting that Karoline's legal citations might be out of context. But the unedited video of the exchange was already everywhere. It didn't matter if certain segments labeled Karoline's claims misleading. In the court of public opinion, the raw footage spoke louder than any follow-up piece. Commentators from all sides began analyzing the meltdown. Some argued that CNN's approach exposed a deeper bias. Others felt that Caitlyn's questions were perfectly valid, but unfortunately mishandled. What truly caught people's attention was the sheer speed at which Karoline answered. The usual gotcha approach didn't stand a chance because she never paused long enough to be cornered. She delivered direct answers, turned the spotlight back on her questioners, and revealed the contradictions in their framing. Meanwhile, a broader conversation emerged about media credibility. If major networks are so intent on crafting sensational moments, do they risk underestimating or misrepresenting reality? The clip of Karoline shutting down each question made it look as though CNN was unprepared for a counterattack, a scenario that eroded trust among those who already doubted mainstream narratives. This wasn't just one bad day for a reporter. It symbolized a growing problem for mainstream news: how to maintain audience trust when the narrative slips out of their control. Inside CNN, whispers of frustration and finger-pointing reportedly spread among producers and correspondents. Some believed the questions were too aggressive, fueling the administration's narrative of media bias. Others insisted Caitlyn was on the right track, but just happened to face a spokesperson unusually adept at handling tough inquiries. Executives debated how to cover the story going forward. Did they double down on calling the administration's actions unconstitutional, or did they move on to other topics and let the public forget? For many observers, it was a perfect example of what happens when a network's plan to create a spectacle blows up in its face, on live TV no less. The confrontation also set a new precedent for White House press briefings. Viewers now expect more direct pushback on loaded questions. At the same time, reporters might feel heightened pressure to be fully equipped with facts and anticipate every possible counterargument. Those who enter the briefing room half prepared could find themselves trending for all the wrong reasons. Karoline's performance suggests that spokespeople are adapting to the modern media landscape. They're leaning on their own data, referencing court cases, and turning every question into a chance to critique the media's coverage. Whether you applaud or criticize her tactics, it's clear the old dynamic, where the reporter controls every second of the narrative, may be fading away. But the most fascinating part isn't just what happened in that briefing room. It's how the audience at home reacted, and what that says about the future of news consumption. People on social media weren't just re-watching the exchange, they were dissecting it. Independent commentators on YouTube released breakdowns, analyzing Karoline's strategy step by step. Polls popped up asking viewers whether they believe CNN's framing or Karoline's rebuttals. The results were all over the map, but one consistent thread emerged: an eagerness to see more transparency from networks that claim to inform the public. For younger generations especially, the incident served as a reminder of why they rely on alternative media sources. They don't trust big outlets to present the full story without spin. Moments like these reinforce their skepticism, pushing them further toward independent voices who don't follow corporate talking points. A single heated exchange during a routine press briefing triggered an avalanche of debate, memeing, and soul-searching. Caitlyn from CNN arrived ready to corner Karoline, but ended up showcasing how easy it is, in this era of real-time fact-checking and viral video clips, to lose control of the narrative. The repercussions went beyond one reporter's embarrassment. They highlighted a fundamental shift in how the public consumes and judges the news. Will CNN adapt its tactics or keep up the same approach, hoping the next spokesperson won't be as prepared? Will this prompt other networks to rethink their reliance on so-called gotcha questions? Time will tell. For now, one thing is sure: that press briefing is far more than a fleeting viral moment. It's a stark reminder that when the cameras are rolling and the world is watching, being prepared can flip the script in an instant. So where does that leave all of us? Maybe it's a sign that viewers, armed with the internet and a healthy dose of skepticism, are finally holding the media's feet to the fire. And maybe, just maybe, we'll see more moments that break through the polished veneer of cable news and reveal the raw, unfiltered truth hidden underneath.